Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Stepfanie Kramer. This week, the women of Hunter. Stepfanie Kramer was the first and longest lasting of Rick Hunter's female partners. Coming up Wednesday, Lauren Lane. Works for me. If you like my videos and want to see them sooner, become a member. For just $1.99 a month, you'll get early access and you'll also be able to see some members-only videos. Refer a friend and let me know. I like to keep track of those things for future reference. Stepfanie may have thought she had it made in 1983, but it wasn't until 1984 when she actually did. Find out what I'm talking about in just a little bit. Stepfanie started acting on TV in the late 1970s, and straight away was appearing in the biggest shows like Starsky and Hutch, 8 is Enough, The Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries, Fantasy Island, Vegas, Dynasty, Bosom Buddies, Knots Landing, Trapper John M.D., and Days of Our Lives. This is a pretty impressive list of credits for a young, up-and-coming actress, and these weren't all of them. Still, the period from 1977 to 1983 wasn't getting her any series regular role until September 1983. The show was called We Got It Made. Haven't heard of it? There's probably a good reason for that. The show was about two New York City bachelors who hire a hot blonde maid for their apartment. One problem with this is that both guys had girlfriends. Stepfanie Kramer played a lawyer named Claudia Jones. She was the girlfriend of lawyer David Tucker, played by Matt McCoy. The show was initially very successful on NBC. For whatever reason, the critics and viewers at home started giving very bad reviews. The show started tanking in the ratings and never recovered. Not even a time slot change could save the beast. Stepfanie stayed with the show for most of the season, but left before it got canceled in March of 1984. Odd enough, this flop of a series was revived 3 years later in syndication. There was a major cast change, and it flopped again after one more season. By that time, Stepfanie was already in a major hit series and had been for a while. The failure of We Got It Made didn't hurt Stepfanie's career any. She appeared in more popular shows like The Dukes of Hazzard, Riptide, and The New Mike Hammer during and right after her time in that series. It looked like this is what it was going to be from here on out. Some actresses have careers like that. Plenty of small parts in big shows. But Stepfanie caught a break, and what a break. Hunter was an action cop show that aired its pilot episode on September 18th, 1984. The show was created by Frank Lupo for Stephen J. Cannell Productions. This was TV's answer to the Dirty Harry movies. As a matter of fact, they seemed to take some inspiration from the third Dirty Harry movie called The Enforcer, where Harry had a female partner. I freaking love Hunter, and Stepfanie Kramer is a big reason for its success. She and Fred Dreyer, as Hunter, just worked. Both of them were detective sergeants in LA who dealt with the worst kinds of criminals. Rick Hunter was tall and powerful, often using physical strength as well as guns. His partner, Dee McCall, played by Stepfanie, was nicknamed the Brass Cupcake for good reason, and was quite tough despite the fact that she was ladylike and more polished than her partner. Dee McCall is an iconic character for a few reasons. One, she was totally 1980s. The clothes, the hair, even the car she drives. If anyone looked 1980s, it would be Stepfanie Kramer as Dee McCall. Second, she played the kind of tough woman cop you just didn't see a lot in movies or TV until she came along. There were some, but not to the degree of Dee Dee. She actually jumped off of cars and did flying tackles on bad guys. Like Hunter, Dee Dee wasn't to be messed with. In real life, since at least the 1930s, there were tough women cops like Dee Dee, but you rarely ever saw them portrayed like this on film. I think Dee Dee was a definite influence on a lot of the female action characters that have come out since then. The Hunter show was known for good action sequences and a lot of snappy dialogue, especially between Hunter and Dee Dee. Hunter himself had a catchphrase used a lot in the earlier seasons. "Works for me." He usually said this after he kicked someone's butt or just before. When Hunter and Dee Dee first meet in the pilot, they're not the best of buddies, but very soon they become best friends. It was made clear that they weren't going to be a romantic couple, although one episode, well into the series, revealed that they did sleep together at one point. Hunter had a shaky start in its first season and almost faced cancellation. A better time slot was found and viewership started to rise. Hunter was always a good show, in my opinion, but looking back on it, I can see some of the problems. Rick Hunter was very harsh in the early episodes. It's cool in one way, because he's a take-no-crap cop, but it's hard to run on full tilt all the time. They needed to soften him up, and eventually they did, making him a much better character in the bargain. The early captains were crap, and always dumping on Hunter for no good reason. The character John Amos played was almost like a villain. In my opinion, Hunter didn't get really started until season 3 when Charles Hallahan started playing Captain Charlie Devane. Captain Charlie was such a cool character, and seriously, was as important to the show as Hunter and Dee Dee. Season 2 did much better than the first. There was a 2-part episode called Rape and Revenge that became a hit. Dee Dee got raped by a foreign diplomat. Since this diplomat had immunity, Hunter wasn't allowed to do anything about it. But Hunter did, indeed, do something about it and followed the butthole to his own country. Long story short, the bad guy ends up dead. This was a memorable moment in the series because you can see how much Hunter cares for Dee Dee as a person and what he's willing to do for her. The series kept doing better in the ratings all the time through season 5. For sure, watching Hunter was like watching a little action movie every week. Season 6 did well in the ratings, but it took a noticeable dip. There were a few reasons for that. For one, the homicide division was moved to the updated Parker Center instead of the ordinary looking place they had for most of the series. They were starting to make the characters and locations of Hunter look a bit too sleek, and it was losing its gritty realism that attracted people to the show in the first place. Second, Stepfanie Kramer decided to leave the show at the end of the 6th season. Stepfanie wanted to leave the show to take on more acting opportunities and a music career. This was a bummer, but at least Dee Dee was ridden out in a crowd-pleasing manner. She married an old flame and moved out of Los Angeles. The 7th and final season of Hunter was troublesome. First of all, Dee Dee was awesome and a hard act to follow. But who they got for Hunter's next partner was terrible to begin with. Darlan Flugel played Officer Joanne Malinsky. I've seen Darlan in other roles before this, and she was good, but this didn't come out right at all. For one thing, Joanne was never presented as an equal partner to Hunter at all, and was always a subordinate. Fred Dreyer and Darlan Flugel had none of the chemistry, on screen or off, that he had with Stepfanie Kramer. Darlan wanted out of the show, and she was written out in a less complimentary manner than Dee Dee. Joanne was killed by a serial killer in a 2-part episode. Hunter, enraged, brings the killer to justice and avenges his partner's, or whatever she was supposed to be, death. The ratings really plummeted during the time Darlan was on the show. The next female partner in the series actually made her first appearance in the two-parter where Joanna gets killed. Lauren Lane played Chris Novak, and she was in the final 11 episodes. Unlike Darlan, Lauren was a good fit right from the start. She wasn't Dee Dee, but she was still a great character. Had Chris Novak appeared in the first episode of the season, the show may have continued. However, she came in too late and the show never recovered. Even though the show was on for 7 years, I always felt it ended prematurely. It could have gone on for a while longer. Apparently, Fred must have felt the same way. He brought back Hunter, for the first time, in a 1995 TV movie called The Return of Hunter. Good movie, but it changed things a mite. For one thing, Hunter was now a lieutenant instead of a detective sergeant. For another, he had no woman partner at all. Stepfanie didn't want to come back. Lauren Lane was busy on the nanny sitcom and couldn't come back. It was missing something. Another TV movie was not attempted until 2002. This was called Hunter: Return to Justice. In real life, Charles Hallahan had died, so there was no Captain Charlie. At the beginning of the movie, Hunter was on forced leave from the LAPD because of a failed drug bust. Disgusted with everything, he goes to San Diego where his former partner Dee Dee lives and works. They get caught up in a major criminal plot that has its roots in Russia. Well, this movie was a ratings hit. It was good to see them back together, and, strange enough, it was like they had never left. Besides the location change, the show picked up where things left off with Dee Dee in season 6. That's how it seemed. There was no mention of Dee Dee's husband. This did good enough where a new version of the series was greenlit. However, another TV movie was made to serve as a pilot in 2003. This was called Hunter: Back in Force. Once again, awesome movie. Hunter and Dee Dee are partners again from the start. Only a week after that, the regular series started. It was called Hunter, and I suppose, if you want to see it that way, you could consider it an 8th season, although it was really just a sequel series. I really liked this show, and it should have lasted a long time, but it failed pretty miserable. There were 5 episodes made, and only 3 were aired. The 3 episodes that made it to TV were great. I actually liked the newer characters they added because they were younger and could do more of the legwork. It gave Hunter and Dee Dee authority over someone. This was cool. It wasn't ratings so much that killed it. Fred Dryer had some creative differences with what was going on, and there were budget constraints. Seriously though, I thought the shows were well done despite everything, and Stepfanie Kramer was as cool as ever. I guess sometimes you can go back home again. Well, that was it for Hunter. Forever. But what did Stepfanie do between season 6 and the reunion movies? Amazingly, she didn't do as much as you'd think she would have. In September of 1990, she did a romantic comedy TV movie called Coins in the Fountain. I saw this and thought she was good in it. In 1992, she did a direct-to-video action movie called Twin Sisters that I thought was cool. In it, she plays twins. One twin allegedly gets killed, and the other investigates her death. Stepfanie did 4 more TV movies through 1996. She had a handful of smaller parts through 2000, and then the Hunter revival. Musically, not much came out during this time. In 1986, she was working on a rock album with Mike Post, who composed music for Hunter, but it never materialized. That's unfortunate, because I like Mike Post's music, and this could have been very cool. Shortly after Stepfanie left the Hunter show, she recorded an album with popular rock musician Nils Lofgren, but it was never released. Her first album to be released, One Dream, didn't come out until 1999. She wrote most of the material on that album. Her second album, in 2008, was called The Great American Songbook and featured covers of classic songs recorded live. Part of the reason for her slowing down between Hunter gigs was because she got married in 1992, had a daughter in 1994, and got divorced in early 2001. Her daughter, Lily Richards, is an actress as well. It's hard for me to believe Dee Dee's daughter is now over 30. Time marches on, I suppose. Stepfanie has continued to act since the Hunter revival ended, but her appearances have been sporadic. It would be great to see her full time again. I think another team up with Fred Dryer would be awesome, even if it wasn't in a Hunter project. For being such a good actress and playing such an endearing character as Dee Dee McCall, Stepfanie Kramer earns her place as Babe of the Day, Babe of the Day.